The reason I started PayRio is because I wanted to be part of the change that I wanted so bad during that year at that startup, which was to have female leadership, hire and promote women in payments, in finance, in the industry. And today, PayRio is over 80% women. All of our executives are females at the company, and I've been living that mission ever since.
Welcome to The Edge for Tomorrow, the podcast where founders and leaders in fintech and financial services reveal their strategies for success, growth, and staying ahead. I'm Tracy, CEO of Windsor Edge, and my job is simple, helping businesses grow faster and smarter. Let's jump into today's episode. I'm here with Aubrey Amatelli, founder and CEO of PayRio.
I was born and raised in the Silicon Valley, so startups have always been in my blood. I had worked at JP Morgan, the big bank, as my first job in my career and was there for over a decade. I always had the itch to start my own company, to be in the C-suite, and the perfect opportunity arose, and I was able to start PayRio and combine my two passions, which are payments and alternative medicines. I always say I manifested my dream job.
That's incredible. Those two passions might come from two very different places. I'd love to hear the two different sides of Aubrey that kind of led these to be your two passions.
I'm a glorified payment geek. I just like, I'm just a nerd about it. And then on the other side, growing up in California, cannabis, especially, and alternative medicines have always been kind of the forefront. It's just, the Emerald Triangle is just 3 hours north of me, and it produces the best cannabis in the world. So I've always been around alternative medicines. And later on in life, when I was working at JP Morgan, my partner at the time was, a home grower in Santa Cruz County. And I saw the cannabis industry from a different lens. And I also saw what legalization did to smaller farmers. And it's just been, something I've been passionate about and an industry that I want to support. So those are kind of the two sides of me and what makes up PayRio.
Why do you think that alternative medicines was left out of the space? Why do you think no one else came to the forefront?
Cannabis and psilocybin and peptides are a little bit more these days, but the reason why it's not supported by the larger payment processors is because Visa and MasterCard, which are our governing body as a merchant services provider, always follow what the federal government, they're ruling. So cannabis and psilocybin are federally illegal. And even though they're legal on a state by state basis, even psilocybin in certain states, Visa and MasterCard don't support payments through their rails. Those industries have been cash or check, but we've grown a little bit and we've found compliant ways to process payment using very unique technologies that are not breaking the rules of Visa and MasterCard, but are just essentially adding a layer or very unique, going through ATM rails or an e-check. There's ways around it, but I think a lot of companies were just either not wanting to go after it or breaking the rules. And so we came in with my JP Morgan background and found compliant solutions to support the industries.
When I hear about businesses breaking the rules, it just reminds me, I live in New York City. We used to see these definitely illegal cannabis shops just pop up everywhere. Anytime a business would close, we'd be like, oh, I bet it's going to be one of those weird, super bright places. And it was. But now I'm really happy to see that these not legal businesses have been shut down, and like the real players and the people who really care about this industry and are really starting a small business around it are now getting the customer base. So I hope that translates.
Exactly. Before it was like a whack-a-mole, right? One popped up and then like it got in trouble and they popped up elsewhere. When New York really went into the recreational market, it takes a lot of time and money to earn a cannabis license. And it's great to see that the city and the state is protecting the businesses who worked really hard to get those from illegal operations.
Yeah, I'll give a shout out to Moose Moose. I think that's how you pronounce it. They have been in our neighborhood in Williamsburg for years, and really glad to see that they're prospering. Is there anything else that is unique about this industry that you think people aren't attuned to?
The entire payment ecosystem in cannabis and alternative medicines is unique. What I learned at JP Morgan was the traditional payments for very low risk operations. JP Morgan wasn't risky, and that's okay, right? But what I learned during that time is what is compliant in terms of processing a payment, what to look for, because JP Morgan took that to the extreme compliance. So then coming over to this industry, it's almost as if it's a high risk payment solution that I'm not used to, but I have that foundation from my education. I say the Harvard of payments is an education at JP Morgan to know what solutions could work in the industry without breaking any rules. These industries have no idea what it is to just sign up for a merchant account with Square and then process payments the next day. Like that is so easy and it's an integral part to all small businesses. That's how they receive their revenue. These industries have never had it that easy. They've always had it the hard way. And so that's really unique is when the industries become federally legal, they're actually going to finally be at the same level as other small businesses right next door. So we really, like you shouted out that dispensaries, we really need to support the dispensary and be okay with whatever payment solution they're offering and support them because they go up and down and they're not traditional. But as consumers, we need to know that those businesses and dispensaries are working so hard to provide them with an easier way to pay.
That is really inspiring to hear because we should really have this type of mindset with all small businesses. But you're pointing out that some industries have it extra hard, and we really just need to be patient
Yeah.
as the right policies evolve.
Mm-hmm.
Aubrey, what type of industries do you work with?
We work on the cannabis side in dispensaries. So if you go to a dispensary and you see a terminal like this, it might be our technology. We work in the brick and mortar space. That's about 75% of our business. We also have a fast growing e-commerce side of our business. So we support psilocybin spores, cannabis seeds, hemp derived cannabinoids. THCA has been a really popular industry that we support. That's actually the non psychoactive hemp version of cannabis. And then we have peptides as well. That's another large one that we support.
And do you have any plans to expand in the future?
As the industries need our solutions of alternative medicine payments, yes. For example, peptides was not an industry that we initially came to market supporting. However, about 6 to 12 months ago, the federal government regulated the sale of peptides online from a B2C standpoint, which was devastating to that industry. So now, because the federal government regulated the sale online, Visa and MasterCard have to follow suit. Every single consumer-based peptide website feels like they're coming to us. We're drinking out of a fire hose right now, and we're helping them get back on their feet and processing payments. It's devastating for a business to even lose out on an hour of their e-commerce payments, but let alone days and days. So it's been a huge influx of customers for us, but I'm so happy we have the experience supporting industries that are considered federally illegal because now we can take what we've learned and help the peptide industry.
Oh, this is amazing. I have a lot of awesome women on this podcast and have been really inspired to hear how their experience has been, specifically working in financial services. What has it been like for you in this industry as a woman?
Great question. Financial services are very male dominated, right? I grew up in the JP Morgan world. I would be one of the only females in a room full of 20 presenting payments to a fast growing unicorn startup in San Francisco. After JP Morgan, I left to be the chief revenue officer at a fintech. That was what I did for a year in between JP Morgan and PayRio. And I was so thrilled, and my JP Morgan family was so thrilled for me to take the role into a C-suite startup because, as I mentioned earlier, that was always my goal to become a C-suite. And I'm a single mom of three, so I saw a huge opportunity financially and in the advancement of my career to support my children in the way that I've always dreamed of, just continuing to work hard to give them the best life possible. That's why I do all of this, is for those three little nuggets. When I went to the fintech, I quickly realized that I was the only female in the entire C-suite and board. I actually knew that, but once I got in there, it shifted. Why am I the only woman sitting at the table with, all these men? And how am I going to be able to make a difference in this company? Um, as a female, unfortunately, I faced what a lot of women face, and that was I was treated differently because I was a female. Unfortunately, the CEO didn't treat women properly. I came to find out. It turned into being a really hard year for me, but I learned so much during that year, how to lead through hard times, how to be successful with my team, even though I had the executives pushing me down because I wasn't giving them what they wanted. Ultimately, I spent a year there, hardest year of my career, but I stayed strong for my kiddos and because I love payments. But ultimately, I left to start my own company. The reason I started PayRio is because I wanted to be part of the change that I wanted so bad during that year at that startup, which was to have female leadership, hire and promote women in payments, in finance, in the industry. And today, PayRio is over 80% women. All of our executives are females at the company, and I've been living that mission ever since.
That's beautiful. Is there anything that you'd want to tell yourself 10, 15 years ago? Any tips you'd give yourself to move through and figure out this industry?
Women just have it a little bit harder than men. Finance and business isn't really designed for women to succeed, I think, in the way that maybe it is for men. I would say that it's harder for us, or there's more challenges maybe for females. That is what's making us stronger and why we're so successful in the industry. I think women supporting women, seeking out other companies that are run by women. We, from the start, would give preferential pricing to women-owned dispensaries. That is just what we did. We wanted to, or minority-owned, women-owned dispensaries. So that was something we did. We are a minority, there in terms of executives and leadership. So how do we grow that? Is by supporting other women-owned businesses so that they become more successful. There's a lot, to go around, and when we're less than 20%, 10%, just going the extra mile for other women-owned businesses, I think is really important for us to succeed. And so from the beginning, in my mission statement is to support women or stay-at-home parents to be able to contribute to their family. So I am proud to say that the majority of my operations staff and my internal staff are stay-at-home moms who are able to just do an incredible job supporting the company, supporting our customers in the time that their kids are at school. And it's just so exciting to see. And whether they're operations or sales, they're bringing a lot back to their family to provide, their kids a better life, which is what we're all looking forward to doing.